In the following tutorial, we're going to do the animations for our characters here. Now, I just want you to see what's going on the stage. We have our left character, left player underscore MC, our right player underscore MC, and inside each of these players has a little hit animation. And when we run that hit animation, it will get to the end of it and cycle back to the beginning. And since there's a stop on that first keyframe, a stop on that very first keyframe, it'll stop there again. So it'll only run that cycle one time. We also have an animation on our ball, and that, of course, needs to have the same hit label that we have there. So I must have missed that before. But just a very simple hit animation on the ball as well, just so it shows that when the ball gets hit, it does respond. That's one of those principles of animation. Then we've got also on our main, on our background here, sort of, we've got our score left and our score right underscore txt, those two instance names for our dynamic text, which will change when we have a score. Now, our right player and our left player are on their own layers. The ball is on its own layer, which means that we can animate these three things very easily, and these other elements are going to be static. They are not going to be animated. Anyway, I need to extend out my timeline just to begin with so that I have plenty of room for my animation. So I'm going to just go to like frame 70 or so and insert a frame for everything just to make it so that I have a little bit of length here to deal with. Now at first this ball is going to come in, and let's make sure that everything has instance names before we, of course, do any animation. And this ball is going to come in, and he's going to kind of scale in from scale in a little bit, and then he's going to move down to the player, and then that player will hit it back and forth to the other player. So we can start our animation by creating a keyframe for our second, what the ball looks like when it's come in, just so we don't have to scale it back, and then go back to the beginning and scale them up a little bit. And I might use an alpha here. And if I take my alpha down a little bit, you might notice the problems with the alpha. So this is one of those, consistent problems that you always get with graphics. We can, of course, use the display layer, and that will kind of fix that effect if we have that kind of problem. So I'm going to go to display layer just so that if I do a transparency, we won't have that issue. Anyway, I'll do a classic tween in between the two. You'll see that ball comes in. So I can now take him back to 100% transparent. That way you can see he fades in. And as soon as he hits there, we're going to go ahead and have him move over to the next location. So I can duplicate the keyframe, go to the black arrow, move him down to where he's going to be hitting that character, and create my classic tween. So you'll see he moves down. As soon as he gets hit, he's going to move to the other side. Insert keyframe. I can do it by duplicating the keyframe or inserting the keyframe. And he's going to move over to the other side up here. Then he's going to move back. And so here's a nice thing that I can do. If I've already got the keyframe on that one side, I can duplicate it to the other side and just move it up or down a little bit. That way at least I know that I'm getting it to the same kind of distance. So I'll do a classic tween, another classic tween. And you'll notice each time here, it's getting hit, and it's getting hit again, and it's getting hit. So these are all the different times where that ball is traveling back and forth. And eventually, he's going to be hit again, and this time, he's going to travel off the screen. So I need to extend my frame just a little bit longer, insert the frame. So he's going to actually travel up there. So he goes off the screen completely. And that creates a little bit more interesting animation. So there he goes. So we know that that's when the blue player is actually scoring a point. So it's going back and forth between the two players a few times and then scoring a point. Now we need to move the characters as well. So we're going to do the same sort of thing. Our character is actually, it's coming right to him, which is kind of nice. It might be nice to actually start our characters in the center. So maybe they both start here to begin with, and then when the ball comes down, he needs to move down there. So he's going to, let's see, that's, I guess, the first time he gets hit right there. So at first he's going to be just staying where he is until the ball gets hit. So I'll just duplicate that first keyframe, do a classic tween, and you'll notice, bam, he moves down. So anytime I'm duplicating these keyframes, I'm using the Alt key. Then at this point right here, I'm going to put in a comment, and this is going to be hit as my comment. And that's because that's where that guy's going to hit. Now notice that I've made him a few frames before the ball actually gets there. And the reason why is because if I go into the hit cycle, you'll notice that when I run the hit cycle, it's going to be a few frames. It's like 4 frames before he actually hits the ball. So he has to have the time for the swing. So now the other character is going to move over. So I'm going to make another keyframe for the left player here, because he's going to wait until the ball is hit, and as soon as that ball is hit, he notices, oh gosh, I need to move. So he's going to move up to where he needs to, and he's going to have a hit as well. So I'm going to make a comment, and of course I need the tween there, the classic tween. So you'll notice he moves up, then he hits. Now as soon as he gets hit, the other guy has to respond. So he's going to move up a little bit, insert keyframe. So he'll move up to where he needs to hit the ball next. And that's where the other guy was psyched out and he went the wrong direction. So I'll insert a keyframe and move him slightly down a little bit. So I'll have him move down. So he was thinking that he would move down there. So that's how he gets the score. We can have him move a little bit further and maybe a little bit slower. So there are different ways to make it happen. All right, so we've got basically the animation happening here. Let's make sure we've got the other hit section here. So that looks pretty good. We've marked where our hits are happening. And then, of course, that is a miss there. Now, as soon as it goes off the stage, we're probably going to need a little bit of time for our timeline to kind of just play out where nothing really happens so that we have time to realize that the game has finished. So I'm going to just extend out my timeline a little bit just for a while, and that way I've got some dead space before it starts a different game. And you can do other graphics that are like, oh, score for player 1, and then let's replay again, or game 2, or inning 2, or something like that. And we can have some text that comes in at the beginning that's like inning 1, and then it fades out as they start playing. So there's a lot of things that we can add to make this a little bit more interesting.